One thing that's intrigued me about The Witcher 3 is how clearly the early main quests are constructed to establish different things. Kaer Morhen was a cutscene-heavy character introduction. Lilac and Gooseberries and the Beast of White Orchard were basically a playground for the player to get familiar with the gameplay loop. And Imperial Audience is a plot-heavy quest with the goal of establishing the narrative thrust and framework. Those first few quests did their jobs marvelously, so now it's time to see how well that last one fares. So here's my Witcher 3 quest analysis for Imperial Audience, the fourth main quest in the game. The quest begins after Geralt and Yennefer arrive in Vizima fresh off of being chased by the Wild Hunt. Geralt is being tended to by some uppity Nilfgaardians, and he's questioned on events from past games before having an audience with Emperor Emir van Efmries. I don't know how to say his name. Emperor whoever demands that Geralt track down Ciri. Yennefer reveals this is why she's been working with Nilfgaard and tells Geralt where to begin his search. The quest ends with Geralt heading off to Velen to start this epic journey. Imperial Audience's heavy focus on plot means that this quest is a bit on the slower side, but honestly it's not a big deal. This acts like a nice little breather in between all the stuff you did in White Orchard and the decrepit muck pit that is Velen. And though slow, this quest continues playing to The Witcher 3's greatest strengths, the writing. Even when it's a ton of exposition, it is so deftly written. Take this little exchange about how the Wild Hunt found out about Ciri.
How did they track us down?
Because of me. You see, I've spent months searching for Ciri, using locating spells, haruspicy, geomancy, anything, really. I knew the Wild Hunt might sense it, perhaps even find me, but I thought I'd tricked them.
Like, she just explained a bunch of plot elements, but we also got to feel Yennefer's frustration, her determination, and her feelings of guilt. Basically, while being brought up to speed on all the happenings in the world, you are also getting to know Yennefer the character. And this mix of exposition with touches of character is sprinkled liberally throughout this conversation.
All we have in Novigrad are unconformed reports, rumors, but there you will have the help of our mutual acquaintance. Triss Merigold. Apparently she's got a cozy flat on the main square.
Here the character touches aren't even spoken. It's in the way Yennefer paused before saying Triss's name, the way she looks away from Geralt, and the way the camera pulls in tight on her face. We are getting plot thrown at us, but the game doesn't stop there. Instead, it feels like a real and strained relationship between two actual people, and it's so much better this way. And it leads to this raw moment of vulnerability from them both, which makes their romance in this game feel earnest and not just tacked on.
One thing before we go. Why didn't you contact me? Didn't need me? Didn't even want to see me?
I didn't want to spoil things. I'd heard you and Triss made a great couple.
Yen, I'd lost my memory.
Really? That's your excuse? Let's drop it, all right? It's not what you think, or it helped me understand how much I love you. I don't wish to hear it. Any of it.
The conversation with Emir is similarly riveting. You learn the most important thing you need to know in this game. Yep, you learn that Ciri has some god-awful childhood portraits. No, actually, it's that Geralt needs to find Ciri, and that Ciri is Emir's daughter. But that's all accomplished super efficiently. The crux of this scene is establishing who Emir is, and his and Geralt's relationship.
Ciri left. Went far, far away.
Do you believe I'd drag you here in the middle of a war to discuss a rumor?
I think anyone can be wrong, even an emperor.
I had forgotten how insolent you can be.
And the juxtaposition of the two of them as fathers to Ciri, Geralt as the father figure whom Ciri loves and trusts, and Emir the father who wants her for less touchy-feely reasons.
For reasons of state, as always.
So this quest sets Emir up really well as a formidable enemy and an uneasy ally, but the game kind of drops the ball in how this is all paid off later. To be blunt, I don't think it pays off well at all, because you don't actually see Emir again until many hours have passed. So he became a non-character to me. I just forgot about him. And all that setup and fantastic tension, it's kind of lost. Now that sounds like a problem with the game as a whole and not just with this quest. And since this is a quest analysis, shouldn't I just focus on Imperial Audience? Well, yeah, but I think part of analyzing a quest is evaluating its placement in the game. And I think having all of this information provided here, but then not properly spacing out the follow-up, well, I think that's a legit complaint about this quest. It expects a lot from the player in terms of retaining information over long periods of time. Take this conversation with Ambassador Var Atra. This is heavy exposition on the state of the world, and it's actually very well written. The dialogue is stellar, and we learn a ton about Velen, Novigrad, Skellige, and Nilfgaard's war with Redania. But the thing is, I actually don't think all of this should have been here. The way the game is set up, this feels almost intended to make you forget it. The stuff about the Bloody Baron and Velen is what's most relevant at this point in the game, because that is where you're going to be heading next. So that stuff kind of stays fresh in your mind.
How do things look in Velen?
As bad as ever. Perhaps worse. This land never flowed with milk and honey, and now it flows with blood. We've temporarily delegated authority in this region to a certain Nordling, the Bloody Baron. I advise you well. Avoid him.
So the Velen stuff can stay, but the stuff about the Church of the Eternal Fire in Novigrad, I didn't remember any of it from this conversation. The only reason it ends up working is that when you get to Novigrad, the church is reintroduced to you in as fiery a way as possible. But God help me, I had no clue what was going on in Skellige the whole time I was there. The conversation with the ambassador discusses Jarls and uniting clans, but none of it's gone into any detail, and when you get to Skellige and there's this mournful funeral for some random guy, how is the player to know that Geralt mentioned his name once like 100 hours ago?
What if King Bran manages to unite the Jarls?
So I don't think Imperial Audience does the greatest job of linking its various plot threads in a way that is user-friendly. And this goes for events from The Witcher 2 as well. Early in the quest, General Morvran Voorhees, not to be confused with Jason Voorhees, interrogates Geralt about events from The Witcher 2, which is supposed to help fill in some of the background of the game, and it directly influences who Geralt may meet throughout his travels. The problem is this section requires an intimate knowledge of The Witcher 2 to really have the most impact. And I don't just mean that you need to have played The Witcher 2, because I played The Witcher 2 right before The Witcher 3, and I still didn't know who half these characters were. So many names that I had forgotten just being thrown around.
The fate of the defending commander, one Arian. Anais was not just any child. Defective megascope. Blow your friend Sheila de Tanserville to bits.
Yeah, that's just mumbo jumbo to me, and I end up randomly picking whatever option sounds like it would give me the most story. And I totally understand that this is a personal problem. Like, it's on me that I don't remember this stuff, and the game lets you just simulate this, but I think this is the one sequence in the game where I would have preferred a bit more hand-holding and blatant exposition over the elegant but vague dialogue that we do get. Two choices I have to make every playthrough though. Leto has to live, and I side with Werner Roach because the music that plays for them is the awesome Witcher 2 main theme.
Broke through with the remains of Natalis' army, but Radovid proved no better than Emir.
And I'm sure Yorveth probably also has that music, but I will never know because I will not dare try it out, because what if I don't get that music? Well, it's probably not the end of the world. And neither are the critiques I have for this quest, because the positives, namely the brilliant writing and characters, far outweigh them. And Geralt is definitely one of those positives. In this quest, he is mostly just reacting to others around him, but those reactions are hilarious, whether it's learning how to bow, or his snark levels with Voorhees.
Go on, next question, before my beard grows back in.
Or the positively giddy look he has while a bunch of pretty ladies bathe him. Or my personal favorite, this death glare he gives the guy shaving him. Geralt is on point. And hopefully you guys felt like I was on point with this video. That way, maybe I can earn your likes and subscriptions.
I had forgotten how insolent you can be.
Geez, sorry, I didn't realize that was being insolent. I was just self-promoting, man.
Silence.